Howdy everybody, how are you doing? My name is Todd McLeod, and I am your instructor here in Computer Concepts. And I've got a new chair. I'm sitting in a new chair because the previous chair felt like it was making me sit kind of like this. This chair is not very comfortable either, but I'm trying to sit with good posture. And why am I telling you this? Partly just because it's nice to share what's going on between humans. That's how humans interact. What's going on with you? What's going on with you? What's going on with you? We ask each other how you're doing or what's going on or how's life been. And so that's part of it. And another part that since I bring that up is that students actually do better in classes. It's been researched where there is some more of that human connection. So, I like to do that. And then also, the other reason I bring that up is because ergonomics is important. It's important. And ergonomics, and this is part of the course, and we've talked about it a little bit already. I'm just making sure my video is still recording. Ergonomics, ergonomics defined is basically how's your workstation. You can see here is a person sitting at a workstation, but it applies not only to a computer workstation. You could also talk about the ergonomics of a car. Is the seat comfortable? Are all the controls, like, do you see them easily? Can you reach them easily? So it's the study of people's efficiency in their working environment. And you want to pay attention to ergonomics. I hear my dog's coming into the room. Hang on one second. All right, I'm back. So you want to pay attention to ergonomics because when you're working at a computer workstation, if you notice that your body's starting to feel uncomfortable, like I had a stiff neck, and you want to ask yourself, what can I do to change my workstation so that I don't get a stiff neck or I don't feel uncomfortable? And just because this arose right now, you basically want to create your workstation like this, or here's another really nice image, right? Where that's kind of how you want to be sitting, and that's where you want your monitor, and doing all that's going to keep you healthy. And you want to be careful not to put pressure right here when you're typing. You can see that the keyboard is in such a way that her wrists are flat and she's not resting her hands on the desk. A lot of people rest their hands on the desk. And if you do that, you could get a repetitive RSI carpal tunnel, right? So RSI is repetitive stress injury. And a carpal tunnel is where there's tunnels that your nerves travel in your wrists. And if you put pressure on this for too long of a period, you'll start to feel tingling because you're crushing those tunnels where the carpal tunnels where the nerves travel, and you could completely damage it where your fingers and hands stops working because the signals aren't traveling along your nerves, which is kind of wild to think about that that's actually how I do this. Is there signals going from here to here, and they're being transmitted somehow to the muscles, and they're making the muscles move. That's kind of wild, and I'm very grateful because I like to be able to pick stuff up and answer my cell phone and stuff like that. So you want to be careful that when you're working at a computer, you have good ergonomics and you don't put pressure on your wrist. Me, when I'm sitting here at this computer, I have this on my lap, a wireless keyboard. And then when that's at my lap, my shoulders are relaxed and my hands are, kind of in the same position here, right? But the keyboard's right here for me. So that's a really good position and keeps me comfortable. And already I'm feeling a little bit better. That chair was, unbeknownst to me, until just recently, making me not feel so good. And so here we're going to be talking about networks, and that's kind of cool because we were just talking about how information travels from your brain to your hands, right, along nerves. And in some ways you could say that my brain is networked to my hand. It's connected with some sort of cables. We call them nerves, and signals go from here to make that move. And so you could say that's a network, right? A network is when two or more devices are connected together. So here's one device, here's another device, and they're connected together. That's a network. We usually don't think of it that way. But anyhow, kind of interesting, we stumbled across that. So now we're going to talk about computer networks. And computer networks, first thing you should know is why do we have networks? What are the benefits? And so the benefits of networks are two. There's two primary benefits to networks. And we're talking about computer networks, of course, social networks and people networking together and knowing people and having people know you. and liking people and having people like you, or loving people and having people love you. That's super important to the quality of a human life. Just to take one more tangent, I really recommend you watch this YouTube video. It's called TED, the Harvard Study of Adult Development, and it's probably the most important video you could ever watch in your life. It's only 12 minutes long. And the takeaway from this video right here is that the quality of your life will depend upon the quality of your relationships. So go check out that video. All right, so the benefits of a network are two primary benefits. And one benefit is sharing information. And another benefit is sharing physical resources. So those are the two primary benefits of networks. So sharing information, right? Like there's all kinds of information sharing which is occurring in the world now. And that used to not be the case. When I was growing up, computers didn't talk to each other. There was no World Wide Web, right? There was no Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or X, or it used to be Twitter, right? There was none of those social media platforms. There was no emailing people attachments. There was no emailing people. There was no texting people. There were no mobile phones when I was born, really. There was a very remedial technology in the 70s. Very few people had it. And so we couldn't share information all that easily. And if you go back further in time, like there was no telephone and there was no telegraph. So telegraph was an old technology where they would use, I think, Morse code. And it was like Western Telegram would send, I think it was called a telegraph. What is a telegraph? We'll ask ChatGPT, what is a telegraph? Is that the same as a telegram? And what was the company Western Telegram? There we go. So this is taking us back to the Old West. Telegraph was one of the earliest forms of long-distance communication, transmitted messages using electrical signals over a wire. The sender would use a device, a telegraph key, to tap out a message in Morse code, a series of dots and dashes representing letters and numbers. So that's another coding scheme. Morse code, right? And we use like switches and on-off states, but Morse code, we'll just see if there's some sort of Morse code. They use dashes and dots. So dot, 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 right? Long, short would be C. And so that's Morse code, and you could send those little impulses of electricity over a wire, and the person on the other end could be listening to the and they could be writing down the letters and getting the message. So that's how a telegraph worked with Morse code, and a telegram is the actual message sent via the telegraph system. And Western Union, not Western Telegram, was a major company that specialized in sending telegrams back in the day. And Western Union is still around, which is kind of interesting. Now they're mostly known, at least in my mind, for sending money orders. So the benefits of a network is they allow us to share information. And if we go back even further in time, before there was the, what was it called? The telegraph, where you could send telegrams. If we go back further in time, like you had to send a letter, right? You had to like write a letter, and then you had to give it to somebody, post office, and then they would ride with it on their horse to like the next post office, and maybe eventually it would get on a train. And if you're writing a letter, like you're here in California back in the early 1800s, I don't know, maybe you have to go back, I think 1776 was when this country was founded. When was America founded? What is the date 1776 in relation to America? Is that the date? I'm not a historian. The Declaration of Independence or the Constitution was signed? I think it's the Constitution. Oh, it's one of the most significant dates in American history. What do I know? And it's the Declaration of Independence was signed. What date was America founded? America founded. What do most people consider as the founding date of America, and why? You know, it's just curious, just interesting, right? Founding date of America is, July 4th, 1776. Okay, well, that all makes sense. Just reinforce something I knew but wasn't really totally clear on. So that's other possible dates. So you have to go back to, like, if you go back to the 1800s and you're going to communicate from California, or let's just say even like Boston, to somebody in Europe, like, no, let's do California. your letter would have to go on like a horseback, like, or train. It'd have to make its way all the way across the country. And you're going to communicate with somebody in England. Let's say you have family back in England. And then the letter would have to get on a boat, and then get shipped all the way across. And like 3 months later or 6 months later, the person you wanted to communicate with would get your letter. And then they'd write back. And by the time you got their letter, like a whole year had passed. And so that's kind of crazy. Just if you think about, we're talking about the benefits of networks, like, wow, that's super slow and in the past. And now we could share the benefits of networks are sharing information and sharing physical resources. Now we could share information like that. And so it's just kind of nice to acknowledge that. It's easy to take it for granted, but we could video conference with people anywhere in the world real time. And that's extraordinary. That's like something that was science fiction. That was something that was science fiction when I was a kid. And now we're actually doing it. And so sharing information, if you think about all the information that's shared from YouTube videos, to Wikipedia pages, to emails, to video chats, to posts on social media with videos and pictures, like, it's just incredible how much information is shared and is available to us. And in the past, people were hungry for entertainment. They were hungry for information. It used to be even a sign of royalty and nobility, if you go back further in time, to have books, because only the wealthy people had books. Because for a book to be copied, somebody had to sit there with a pen and copy it by hand. But then the printing press was invented. So when was the printing press invented? And who invented it? And it's like Martin Luther. I don't think it's King. It's just Martin Luther. We're going to find out. I think it's like 1086 or something like that. Come on. I'm feeling lucky. 1440. I got to find out what happened in 1086. So Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press in 1440. How is Martin Luther connected to the printing press? Isn't he connected somehow? All right, we're going to put a semicolon right there because that's a little bit of a different thought, almost like two sentences. We'll find out. He did like deeply connected to the printing press, and the relationship between Martin Luther's connected to the printing press because in 1570 he did like a bunch of theses and he nailed it to some church door. And so anyhow, before the printing press, so before, when was it created? Before 1440, to have a book, to share information through a book. Remember, we're talking about the benefits of a network, and one of the primary two benefits is sharing information. And so before 1440, which in the grand scheme of things is not that long ago, but prior to 1440, there wasn't even a way to quickly share information through books. You had to copy each book by hand, so only royalty had books. And then after the printing press was invented, people could print books. They could print books, and so it's much quicker. And what year was the start? What year, generally speaking? I don't know. What year, about when, it'll do this, about when was the start of the Renaissance and the scientific revolution? All right, so we'll find out here. So printing press came out and there's a point to all this. We're reinforcing the point that the number one benefit of a network is sharing information, and we're just really kind of grokking that and really sort of letting that in and understanding what that means in relation to the grand timeline of humanity, because it's super important to share information. A lot of people could overlook that, but we're focusing on it because sharing information is actually one of the most profound things we could do to advance humanity. And so 1440, we had the printing press, and then the Renaissance and the scientific revolution. So the Renaissance began in the 1300s and lasted into the 17th century, the 1600s. And then the scientific revolution was the 16th and 18th century. So I'm going to ask this question. Do some historians claim that the invention of the printing press led to the Renaissance and the scientific revolution? Contributed to, because the contributed to the development That's a good way to say it. Of the printing. Oh, some historians claim that that's a crazy question. But it understood. Yes, many historians claim that the invention and development of the printing press significantly contributed to the Renaissance and scientific revolution. I love that I ask a completely disjointed question, and ChatGPT's like, I got you. I know you made a typing error. Uh, so the printing press really led to the development of the Renaissance and the scientific revolution, and you could see that here. And it also led to increased literacy and access to knowledge, and also led to challenging authority, right? And so in all ways, like sharing information was like beneficial to the whole of humanity. And having access to information led to a flourishing, sharing information, led to a flourishing in the arts and in the sciences. So the arts, the Renaissance was a flourishing of the arts, and a flourishing of the sciences was the scientific revolution. So sharing information is profound for humanity. And it seemed like there was something else I wanted to ask about all that, but I think we've gone deep enough into all of that. And the main takeaway here is that if the printing press, and some people, I think about the printing press as the first information revolution, 1440s, first information revolution. And because after that, we had this, we had access to information. Information was shared more broadly, more widely. And then we had a flourishing in the arts and the sciences. And if you look at the second information revolution, so people have talked about the internet and the World Wide Web as the second information revolution. And that really began in, large scale form for humanity in 1998. So the World Wide Web began in 1993, and the internet began in the late 1960s, 1967, I think. And the World Wide Web runs on the internet, and the internet is the network, and the World Wide Web is software or a service which is running on the internet, the network, and this large network called the internet. And in 1998, the World Wide Web really hit humanity at large scale, meaning that's when people in more developed countries like America and Western Europe, people in those countries really started to use the internet, 1997, 1998, and the World Wide Web. And so, thinking about that parallel, after the invention of the printing press, which led to a wider sharing of information, there was a flourishing of the arts and the sciences, and it really advanced humanity. After the invention, that was the first information revolution, the invention of the printing press. So now we're in the second information revolution, and that's the internet and the World Wide Web. And so just, thinking about the precedent that was set in the first information revolution, you could say, because this is a parallel, that just like the first information revolution, the printing press led to a flourishing in the arts and sciences. Like I speculate that the second information revolution is going to lead to a flourishing in the arts and the sciences. And only 26 years later, we're already seeing that. We're seeing a flourishing in the arts and the sciences. And humanity has advanced so far in only a quarter of a century. It's extraordinary. And so that's really exciting. And I think that this is one of the great pieces of news that can emerge from this course, because I don't know, I think we've talked about this at some point. So there's this website Gapminder, and the important pieces of news that can emerge from this course is that you're living in the best time period ever to be a human. You're living in the best time period ever to be a human. Like, we're in 2024 when I'm recording this video. You might be watching it at a later semester, but all this is still relevant. And so, like, not only are you at this nexus of, the second information revolution, and nexus, just to make sure I'm using that word correctly, nexus is a connection or series of connections linking two or more things, a connected group or of ideas, the central most important point or place. That's the way I'm using it. Not only at this beginning, the seminal moment, right? The seminal moment in history, the beginning, where is it? Strongly influencing later. I thought it was like the beginning, but not only are you right here at the beginning of the second information revolution, but also like there's so many other things that make this the best time period to be alive. And if you look here, we have life expectancy. And if you look here, we have GDP per capita. And so this is like really the health of everybody on the planet. and this is the wealth, gross domestic product per capita. So every country uh, makes a certain amount of stuff every year, from oranges and peaches to computers to cars. And if you quantify what's the dollar value of that, that's your gross domestic product, right? And then if you divide the gross domestic product by the population, you get how much each person, the GDP per capita, right? How much each person basically has, created that year in that country. And so it's just a figure to measure wealth. So you have health over here, and you have wealth over here, and up here you have all the countries on Earth. Every ball is a country, and the size of the ball is the population. There's India, it's really big. And if you come over here, I don't know what, that's Switzerland. It's small. They have less people. And here's China, right? And then the color of the balls represents the regions. And so these are the Asian countries, and here are the African countries, and then here are the Americas, and then here are the Europes. And here you can see, like, this is America, and we live to 79.5 years. So when I hover over America, you see 79.5 on the vertical axes. And down on the horizontal axes, it says 65.7. 65.7. You can see that show up when I go over America there, the 65.7. And so we live to 80 years in America, and we have like $66,000 of GDP per person, per capita. And so we're one of the, if you're in America, you're in one of the countries where you live the longest and you make the most money. You might be a little better off if you move to Singapore. You'll live to 85, and you'll make $109,000 a year. So that's pretty extraordinary. Or over here in Ireland, you make $114,000 a year, but you only live to 82, 82.6. And so, this is in 2023, and then you have a little playhead here where you could see what humanity looked like over time. And so I don't know if I showed this to you before, because I show this to pretty much all my classes, but you could really see that if you go back 200 years, most people didn't live past the age of 40. That's because there was really high infant mortality, and a lot of babies died under the age of 5 from dying in childbirth or early issues. And most people didn't live, the average age was barely 40 for some countries, and less than 40, more like 30 here. And also, there really wasn't a whole lot of stuff. And so I don't know if stuff makes happiness, arguably I'll say no. And we get back to this video here that the quality of your life depends upon the quality of your relationships. But, it is nice to, we live like gods. We live like gods now. Like, anybody could talk to me at any time. I could talk to anybody anytime. I could look up any information I want at any time. I could have pretty much any entertainment I want at any time, as far as digital media content goes. And I could fly through the air like a Greek god, and then go get on a cruise ship. And, it's this incredible life. And even if you don't have that level of opulence or luxury, still just being able to get in a car or have a cell phone, or, have food and shelter and safety and clean drinking water. This is stuff the world hasn't known for a lot of time. So you can see that over time, we've really progressed as humans. And you can also see here, when the balls drop, here, the balls drop right there, 1917, that's World War I, and lots of people died. And then also here is World War II. Ooh, the balls really go down. Lots of people died. Okay, and then now we've done pretty well since post-World War II without killing each other. Though when I look at the news, I'm starting to wonder. I just hope for the best. Hope for the best for humanity. And so this is the best time to be alive. And if you look at the work of Steven Pinker, and he wrote The Better Angels of Our Nature. So here it is. And if you also look at the work of Hans Rosling, who wrote Factfulness, and so here's his book Factfulness, and Hans Rosling also created this, by the way. All of the findings, this is a professor at Harvard, and Hans Rosling passed away. But this is and here he is, just so you could kind of get an eyeball, see what he looks like, right? But he was a statistician and a data scientist, and he really profoundly impacted me. And I've impacted a lot of people by sharing this incredible, and he's impacted a lot of people by creating this tool. But all of their findings say, look, there's never been a better time to be alive. And so sharing information is powerful, it's profound, and it can change lives and it can change humanity. And that's the first benefit of a network. And I've really gone into depth on that just because it's such a profound concept. And I really want you to appreciate just how powerful it is. and to understand that you're living at this incredible turning point in the history of humanity, where we're in the middle of the first information revolution, or the second information revolution, and it only began 26 years ago. We're still at the very beginning of it, and it's going to lead to a flourishing in the arts and sciences, and it's going to accelerate everything. And hopefully, you know, that includes everything that's great and everything that's also can be really detrimental. And so hopefully the great continues to triumph over the detrimental for the benefit, the pro-social value, positivity, benefit of humanity. So it's an incredible time to be alive. There's never been a better time to be alive. And you're living in the midst of the second information revolution, where because of networks, we're able to share information, and that profoundly changes people's lives, and it profoundly changes humanity. And just even me sharing this information here can profoundly change your life, right? Like, you know, okay, you could go about your life now thinking like, wow, how lucky am I? Like in the entire history of humanity, this is the other thing I wanted to ChatGPT, how long have humans been around? How long has the planet been around, and how long have humans been around? This is a super interesting question to ask. Age of the Earth is 4.54 billion years old, and humans have been around, like, evolved 200 to 300,000 years ago. And early human ancestors, you could see them emerge 2 to 3 million years ago, but the planet's been here 4,540 million years. And so the planet's been here 4,540 million years, and humans only started to emerge the last 2 to 3 million years, and really only the last 200 to 300,000 years. And so, you know, that is like extraordinary. And in our evolution, to see how far we've come in relation to the entire history of humanity, like, and if you were to like say, okay, there's like, you know, two decades, 20 years, so like 20 divided by 4,540 million, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like, you know, 10 out of 100 would be 10%. You'd have a 10% chance of like getting 10 out of 100. Like the odds of you being born in this incredible time, you know, please show me this number without E notation. Please show me this number. Please show me this number without E notation, scientific notation, right? And actually, I'm just going to do it post-World War II, which is the last 80 years. So like, let's just say, hey, this is the best time. Post-World War II is the best time to be a human. Then this is going to be some percentage, and it's this percent, right? So the odds of you like being born, the result of that is, so the result of, without scientific notation, the result of is approximately, I like this one, and I'm going to give that the total thumbs up, and you could read it aloud. That's so cool. So these are the odds of you, being born in the best time period of humanity, and not like being eaten by stuff or living in caves, and not dying like at the average age of 35 or younger, right? And having planes and cars and cell phones and TikTok and videos, and like, and most people are just like completely clueless. They just think this is the way it's always been. This is what I've been born into. No. For the vast majority of our evolution, it's been like dark nights and fires and wild animals. And it's only recently that we've had couches. So, you could also ask it, what are the odds of winning Powerball? And if you take my statistics class, we'll learn how to calculate this. Please show me that without scientific notation also. There we go. I need to have my grammar be better when I talk to ChatGPT. And so, it's actually going to calculate it for me. So this is how you figure out the number of possible combinations. So you can see combinations right here. There's the math for that. And then choosing the Powerball is like, there's 69, and you're going to choose 5. So that's total odds. And then you have to choose the Powerball. It's 1 out of 26. And so the odds are this. And I'm not sure that's correct. I thought it was like 300 million, but it's close enough. And then what is that? What is that as a decimal? Decimal. So we'll see what that is as a decimal. Because I just want to compare. It's, oh wow, it's actually, you know, pretty far out there. So sometimes ChatGPT is not right. But we'll take this one here. Here are the odds of winning Powerball. And then here are the odds of being born right now. This is kind of what I wanted to understand. And we'll take the odds of being born right now, which I think is going to be less than winning Powerball. Because I was kind of curious, you know, if you had a greater chance of winning Powerball than being born in the last 80 years when you think about the entire history of humanity. And so here we had, oh, this is over the entire, like, time the planet's been here. So it's a negative number. So you actually have better odds of being born right now than winning Powerball. So if you won Powerball and you're born right now, like, such small odds. All right, so the history of humanity, like how long have humans been around? If Earth formed at midnight, life appears around 4 a.m., dinosaurs appear around 10:56 p.m., and humans appear at 11:59 and 59 seconds. So we've only been around like the last second of all of the history of the planet. That's a really cool little analogy. So this is the best time to be alive, and you're at the second information revolution. You're right at the beginning of it, and it's going to lead to a flourishing of the arts and sciences, and already the developments we've seen have been extraordinary, and we've been talking about it in class. Second benefit of networks. The second benefit of networks is you could, first benefit is you could share information. The second benefit is that you could share resources. And so sharing resources is like, I want to print. There's a printer behind me, right? And I could print to that printer, but if it's connected to my home network, every other computer and cell phone and any other device that's on the network in my house can print to that printer. So we could share physical resources. So the benefits of networks are they allow you to share information and they allow you to share physical resources. Those are the two benefits. Okie dokie. Yeah, so benefits are sharing. This is kind of what a network looks like. It's just a bunch of devices, 2 or more devices connected together. There's a lot of little details here. It's just showing different stuff you could send back and forth to people, right? And then often there might be a server in the middle of a network where all the computers in a network are connecting to the server, and the server helps serve the clients. So these would all be considered clients, and they're all connecting to the server, and the server, like in a restaurant, the server serves the clients and helps take care of the clients. And so we'll talk more about that in just a second. So when we create a network, we have to talk about how are things connected on the network. So the connection is really important. And I feel a little bit like this should be a second video. So we're going to start another video, and I'm just going to leave this first video as like the amazingness of the second information revolution. And in the second video, we'll talk about these details. See you in the second video.